sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think.
Welcome. This is Andrew
Rise from the ashes to fly like
program.
Your
high performance call. Now, the purpose of these calls, I talk about this from time to time, but it's a balance of mindset, skill set. Sometimes I talk about topics that people will bring up. If you have a question that you want addressed, whether it is marketing and branding questions, which I do a little bit of from time to time, or you've got questions about anything on the personal development side and growth, message me and I'll talk about them here. You know, sometimes people don't want to shout out their question on the public forum because you're looking at it and you're going, hey, there's 3 or 4 or 5 dozen people on here. I don't want them to hear that, but it's an important question that you want answered. Email me and I'll try and address it on here. You know, we've got some cool guests coming up over the course of the next few weeks. We are going to do the roundtable like I was talking about, both with Blake and with others. So just be ready. Be here as often as possible for those. I will try and announce them, but I'd love it if you guys showed up, even if I don't announce somebody else that's cool on here. Here's what I wanted. A question that I don't know what's going on. I've gotten this question so many times over the last couple of weeks. What's the average? Well, tell me what the average is of this, that, fill in the blank. Average amount of this, average amount of that. Let's talk about the average a little bit. Averages are an interesting thing. They really are. And you guys may be guilty of asking this at one time or another. And I don't even know if anybody that's on the call right now asked me. And so I'm not trying to single anybody out. I've been asked a lot over the last couple of weeks. That's why I'm talking about it. And so here's what we have. I'm going to throw out some averages. Some of them are worldwide. Some of them are here in the States because those were the easiest ones for me to find. I challenge you, go out and look for some of the averages in your country. Yeah, Michael, average is meaningless. And that's absolutely median means so much more. But then you're almost getting into semantics, right? What's the difference between average and median? Isn't it almost the same thing, right? Essentially, the whole reason I'm pointing this out, because look, average or median amount of hours worked. So average amount of hours worked in a day through 2020, 2021's not done, is under 8 hours a day. And I know some of you guys hear that and you go, well, that's crazy. Well, because what they do when they look at average, and this is why I want to show you guys why asking that question is so weird. So 7.7 hours a day. How many of you guys work full time? Right? How many of you guys hear 7.7 hours a day multiplied by 5? We're at what? 38 and a half hours ballpark a week. How many of you guys hear 38 and a half hours a week and you go, that's not full time. That's a part-time gig, right? How many of you guys really would consider 38 hours full time? But that's the average, guys. 7.7 hours is the average amount of work. 3.1 hours is the average amount of TV here in the US that people consume daily. 3.1 a day. Now, some of you hear that and go, if you're truthful, you go, well, I've got the TV on way more than that. And others go, that's not me at all. And then some of you just got done with Thanksgiving weekend. And so so especially some of our gentlemen on here, we're in the middle of college and football season, you know, and NBA is going on too. If you sat all day Saturday and you sat all day Sunday watching football, right? That works out to somewhere in that 12 to 18 hours. That works out the rest of your week, boys, right? It all adds up. Okay. Some of you people maybe binge watching things like The Bachelor, and I'm not just talking to the ladies. I know some of you guys and some of you are shaking your head, but there's some kind of TV show, right? The British Baking Cook-Off. That's, you know, absolutely. So 3.1 hours a day. Now, the average amount of leisure or sports. So this could be TV, this could be working out, this could be walking, this could be doing something that's not considered work or housework, is a little over 5.5 hours. That's the average. Now, here's the fun part. 6.1 hours of average leisure time without kids, for less than 4.5 hours with kids. So if you got kids, we already know you don't get much leisure time. And I think they might count just, you know, bath time where you're alone, right? Just time when you're not actually working. Okay. So averages. This last year was interesting. Again, this year's not over yet, but alone time is something that they look at. How much time you spend alone. The average amount of alone time increased because we were in lockdown. People were spending less time with other people. They were spending less time at work with other people. So alone time is a little over 7 hours. Now, alone time over 55, if you're over 55, it's over 8 hours a day alone. Averages though, men average here in the US and around the world, it's a little bit different. So you have, I think they said Guatemala, Philippines on average are a little bit shorter. And then you have places like certain locations around Europe, Eastern Europe, where averages are higher. Okay. Men here in the US, average height is about 5'8". Average woman height is about 5'4". Average weight for man, and this is why I think it's so ridiculous. Again, just nonsense. But they said average weight for a man is between 174 and 201 pounds, but it depends on the age. For women, they just said 170 pounds. They didn't give you an age variation. Back in the 60s, though, average man was a couple inches shorter. Average woman was a couple inches shorter, or about an inch shorter. Average weight was less. Averages. Average amount of time working out. They say you should be working out 150 minutes a week of moderate or 75 of vigorous exercise plus strength training in one way or another. So even if it's body weight, you're strengthening your muscles. You should be doing that twice a week. Only 23% of people get both. 32% of people got one of those, which means the average is people don't do it. They don't work out enough. Then when you look up reading, and this is a statistic I use all the time, guys, I talk about it, I pulled it. I can't remember where. I'm going to have to find it, but the average person reads less than a book a year. But if you look up how many does the average person read, the first few things you see is 12. It's not. The average person that reads a lot will read 12 books or more. Mm-hmm. That's the average reader. 50% go UK, 51% of people say they don't even pick up a book in a year. So that average number is really done up by the people that are reading 12, 15, 17, etc. But those are your averages. All of this is thrown off when you look at 7.7 hours worked a day. The reason that that's thrown off is because if I look at average, I've got to factor in all of those people that don't work at all. Unemployment goes up, all of these things happening. That becomes part of my average statistic, right? So when you ask for average, guys, average, how many of you want to be average? How many of you want to average less than one book a year? How many of you want to average, not enough exercise? How many of you want to average having a body mass index that is overweight, bordering on obese? How many of you want to average shitty? Because that's ultimately what it is. Stop trying to plan on being average. It's a horrible question. The best question, whenever you go to anything, guys, working out, being physically healthy, building a relationship. Look, what's the average? Someone on here know what the percentage of marriage versus divorce is? Aren't more than half of marriages, don't they end in divorce? Right? Isn't that what they say? So the average is you're going to be alone and single and miserable. Not everybody that's single is miserable. Don't get me wrong. But my point is like, if I'm looking at average sucks for a 64%. It's so way more than average. Average sucks, guys. Quit trying to ask what's average. What you want to do, no matter where you go, find some definitions for success. I've talked about this before. I'm not going to define success for you. Okay. There's a lot of programs that go, oh, you should earn this. You should launch by this. You should achieve that. I'm never going to be that guy. You've got to define success for you. And so again, I'm kind of sad that we don't have more people that have already filled this out. I'm going to drop it into the Skype group again. I'm going to post it right here. click on there and write in there what you define success as. Something succinct, something small. We've only got a handful of you that have done it. This was from a training that I did last week. So if you haven't yet, go back into watch some of the calls from last week. I talk about success. I talk about defining kind of who you are. Absolutely, Chantel. I look for the top. So the question is, what are those that are most successful doing? And what do I need to do that? Right? That's what I need to pay attention to. Because when we look at the average, there's that question, when you talk about reading, there was this reporter that asked Warren Buffett, what does he recommend for people to do? And he pointed to a stack of books. And he said, you see that? Go read. He reads 400 to 600 pages a day. He said, so he said to do that, go read every single day. And the guy kind of laughed and he went, no, really. And see, that's the reason why people don't succeed, is because they're given what to do and they go, no, but what can the average person do? Well, for crying out loud, quit trying to be average. Every single one of you guys should try to stop being average. Quit asking that question. Ever. Take it out of your vocabulary. What do the most successful people do, and what do I need to do to get there? That's what you need to do. That's all I got for you guys. Look at the most successful people and do that. Yeah, so Earl Nightingale's got his definition. Others have their definition. I need you guys to define it for you. And that's ultimately, what it boils down to. What do you define success as? And then what are the people that are living that way doing in order to do that? That helps you have a pathway. But what you need to do is take those things. So I can talk about reading 4 to 6 books a month. I can talk about exercising so many times a week. I can talk about a certain type of diet. We can talk about certain marketing plans. Every one of you is starting in a slightly different pathway though, right? This is why I can help you figure out a plan to get there, but you need to be honest on where you are and where you want to go. Because if I give, if we talk about a health plan, and I know we've got some trainers that are on here, we've got some financial planners that are on here. There is no one size fits all, because there's no true average. If I sit down and I'm coming up with a financial plan for you and it doesn't fit you because you're starting further ahead or further behind than that average plan, then it doesn't matter. How old is the average person? Well, if you're younger or older, then your plans are going to change, right? Quit trying to be average. That's all I want you guys to think about today. Yeah, and what Michael's talking about. 150 there and 0 because you're in ice, but hey, your average is 75. You're good, or take that to the extreme. Like I can handle the 100 degrees, so put my oven in at 200. Like you're not going to last real long there, right? Quit trying to be average, guys. Figure out what successful people are doing and emulate that. Chase after it. Take all these definitions of success, and Earl Nightingale is, he's one of the godfathers of personal development. But take all of these definitions of success and define it for you. Because ultimately, you're the one going to bed at night. You're the one waking up at night, and you can, you'll have endless amounts of quotes and other things from other people, but you've got to take it and run with it. And if, here's a couple of real basic things. Some of the most successful people, they take personal development, personal study, more seriously than you think. Right? And the more money that they generate, the more they put into it. To the point where the reason that you hear some of these stories of like people going off for, I have a Joe Polish, who's the guy I've talked about on here that runs the Piranha Marketing when I did Clean and Restoration, and then he runs the Genius Network. And he's how I heard of Steve Sims and how I heard of all of these people. Who runs a super high networking group. He took a year off on sabbatical to just work on him. He's not doing anything because he's made enough money and he's got his businesses going, and a couple of his businesses are still running while he's doing that. He took a whole year off. And you hear these people doing extra sleep studies, and they're doing this on the exercise thing, and they're scanning their brain for this and that. And they're like, They're going to all these extremes because they recognize what's gotten them there. So personal development, they take more seriously than you can possibly imagine, right? That's one thing that's common pretty much across the board. They read, they study, they listen to, they get in depth with all sorts of other stuff. That's one of those things. They do what they can to take care of their bodies. So that goes hand in hand. They understand that the vessel has to be where it needs to be as much as possible. If financially they want to take care of themselves, their family, they want to leave a legacy, everything else, they want to be healthy. So it allows them to enjoy the wealth that they're creating. They work and they make decisions quick, and they're slow to change their minds with it. So they act when opportunities arise, they act. And part of the reason they're able to act is because they've done all of this study on what needs to happen and the pathways to success that they need to have, right? Like one of the things Warren Buffett talks about is he studies, he was asked one time, he was seen studying a financial report from Ford Motor Company from the 50s or 60s. So why are you reading that? So, well, because they were successful and profitable. I want to see what they were doing. So they understand what those principles are when it comes to business. And so when they see opportunities that fall in those lines, they take advantage of them. They're quick to make decisions, right? They don't get caught up in the paralysis by analysis. They build relationships. They understand the power of relationships, and they build relationships. So that is both with people on their level. Almost all of them, without fail, have some kind of coach or mentor. And then oftentimes they will either find apprentices or others to mentor themselves, right? Just a handful of thoughts, some things that I've seen frequently. Point of all of this, quit trying to be average, study success, whatever that means for you, and chase that and go out and be better. If you're looking to find a way to rise up, that's how you do it. On that note, I'm going to let you guys go. Go out and be awesome. Fill in how you think of success. I'm going to drop that into the Skype channel, and go share your gratitude and your love with other people. I'm going to try and have a guest on later this week. I will let you know as soon as we have dates for the roundtables with Blake and Darren and the team. And on that note, appreciate you guys. Go out and have an awesome day. I'll talk with everybody soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Sometimes people have what it takes to recognize the guys. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you